председатель управляющего комитета и управляющий партнер Ernst Young, или EY, как сейчас они называются, по странам СНГ.
Доброе утро. That's just about the end of my Russian this morning, so you're going to have a nice English lesson. So I hope today, notwithstanding it's not very sunny outside, that there'll be some sunshine and new information for you today. So let's step into the presentation. I've been told very carefully to keep track of the time. Before I start talking, just a little bit about EY, and I guess a little bit about why you should listen to what I've got to say this morning. First of all, EY was the first Big Four professional services firm in Russia. We have 21 offices in CIS. We're 100% owned by local people. In Russia, we're 100% owned by Russians. Half of our services are in consulting and advisory, and we audit 34% of the CIS, the global Forbes companies. So we've been in CIS for 25 years. We have 5,000 clients, almost 5,000 people, and across the whole of EY globally, we have 190,000 people. So it's a huge organization. And I'm very proud to say that in 2014, in the Universum ratings, EY had won the title of being the best professional services organization in those ratings. So to talk about the topic today, about trust and managers and teamwork, one of the things that's fundamental to an organization is what is the standard? What is required by everyone? And many organizations have a value statement. Thank you. Have a value statement about who they are. And one of the things that I've noted in all of my career is that not everybody knows what the value statement is. But I see that it is key to everybody understanding what the base is. So it's the bottom up, if you like. So within EY, we have a statement, and it's about who we are. And I'll just read it, and I'll do the English version, but you can watch up there. People who demonstrate integrity, respect, and teaming. People with energy, enthusiasm, and the courage to lead. People who build relationships based on doing the right thing. So when you look at that, you can see that the elements of trust are very much embodied in many of the concepts there. Integrity, respect, teaming, the courage to lead, and doing the right thing. And in our industry, doing the right thing is absolutely key, because there are a lot of external stakeholders that rely on the work that we do and the reports that we issue. So we count on everybody doing their part. So what I'd like to talk about is how do we cascade the trust? So I've just talked a little bit about our value statement and what we share with our people. And we ask them to think about that and live it every day. To be honest with you, it's a challenge for everybody to understand what it means and to reflect on it. So as a management team within EY, we constantly go back and talk to our people about our value statement. So in cascading trust downwards, how does EY organize itself? Well, first we have a purpose, and our purpose is building a better working world. And that has internal and external, personal, professional, many different dimensions. So in order to talk to you this morning, and given the context of the presentation today, I wanted to talk about creating high-performance teams. So within EY, what do we spend? We spend a lot of time on teams. And if you think about a big professional services organization, what do we have? We have a lot of professionals, and really, people is our key core asset. So you would imagine that an organization like EY would spend a lot of time thinking about teams. How do we get people to work more effectively together? And specifically about trust and leadership. And how we do that, we have many training initiatives. We have a lot of soft skill presentations and programs where we try and help our people understand a collective, inclusive way forward. So types of things that we do. First of all, shared vision. We have a shared vision, and as I mentioned before, everybody understands what our purpose is. We talk about building a better working world inside EY all the time. We talk about our value statement all the time, and we talk about Vision 2020 all the time. And if you come into our office, you'll see one or multiple of those things as soon as you step foot inside the front door. So we spend a lot of time talking about the foundations in which we build our trust and teamwork. Building the right mix. We spend inside EY a lot of time on diversity and inclusiveness. And what we find, and we do a lot of study and research on this, that to have broad teams comprised of different people help our teams be more efficient and effective. And what I mean by broad teams, we have older people, like myself, in my organisation, and we also have interns working in the same team, talking openly to one another. We spend a lot of time on gender mix to make sure that our teams are weighted appropriately or reasonably between male and female. We have people who are born and bred in Moscow and people who come from the regions working in the same team together. And we find that really helps us uncover some things, different points of view, and the collective best points of view out of those types of teams help us to be very effective and efficient. Of course, the commitment to quality and results is something that every team member has to be on board with. And the quality and results are both internal, like what is your contribution for each person within their role, within the team? What is their contribution internally? And also for the client, what is their external contribution? What is their value proposition inside the team? And constantly refreshing and realizing that. And then there's the mysterious thing at the end, trust. And I'll talk some more about trust. I do want to take just a second to talk about managers and team leaders specifically, and what are the key things to success. For me, the manager role is perhaps the hardest role, and if you've, no doubt everybody in this room is either a manager or has been a manager, and you're expected to do many things. You're supposed to be an ambassador, a facilitator, an advocate, both on behalf of the management of a company or a firm like EY, but also for the team in the other direction as well. And also find that that chemistry is absolutely key for effective team leaders. Just to think about it, as in the introductory part, I've been in various roles in this business, which is a people business, for 25 years. And in my experience, including my personal experience, I think being a manager is the toughest role, and I think it's a very difficult stage, great learning opportunity, but a very difficult stage in anyone's career. And one reason I say that is because with this, the first bullet point there, when you're expected to be covering on everything. So if you're expected to coach your team, and if something happens to your team, you are close enough still to the details that in some cases you're expected to step into the team and take care of the stuff that wasn't done properly. Conversely, people also, your team expects that you are sort of the gateway to management, and you have a very high level as well. So you're covering all bases as a manager, and to be an effective manager and an effective team leader is a very difficult time in one's career, but it's worth reflecting on. Team leader tasks, there can't be any surprises here. Providing clear direction and leadership, that's pretty standard for everyone, I would say, as far as management is concerned. At least that's the expectation. But when you look at who is an effective manager and teams that are effective and teams that are not, you'll see that providing direction and leadership, and in particular around how people communicate, makes a huge difference to teams. And one of the analogies that I draw, when you're at the airport and you look out the window you see all these aeroplanes that are the same looking aeroplanes, but they've got different paint on the outside. From the outside, they just look all the same, but you know from your own travel experience, what happens inside is very, very different. And why is it different? It's because there are different team leaders creating different culture inside that aeroplane. It's the same inside organizations, and in particular, clear direction and leadership through effective communication is absolutely key, and results in the end in a better travel experience as far as career is concerned. So create an open and inclusive team culture. One of the things that I reflect on quite often is the fact that I didn't grow up in this country as a kid, and when I look at the differences in culture, if you like, and how that transmits into a Russian environment, I see in many big organizations that young people, with very good ideas, by the way, are afraid sometimes to talk up and to express their views and their ideas for many different reasons. Some of them are related to the personality of the leaders, but it's also related to the culture of organizations. But we spend a lot of time inside EY making sure that our younger people in particular are given the opportunity to talk up and give their views. And of course, with the changing in business that comes with the new generation of millennial people who think differently, have different values, want different things from their workplace and want to contribute in different ways, that is absolutely critical to firms' success. And that's something that we spend a lot of time thinking about and talking with our team leaders about, making sure that happens. Empowerment is another one. If you are able to give even the youngest person, the most inexperienced person, some degree of empowerment or responsibility where the whole team is depending on what they can do, that can really bring up the team spirit and also really help someone at the start of their career to accelerate and experience different things. So we spend a lot of time at EY with our teams and our team leaders to make sure that we have empowerment and we have a good structure that allows us to try and identify what roles and tasks and responsibilities might be best suited to the different team members. And of course, development and coaching. We again spend a lot of time at EY on training courses, soft skills and hard skills, to try and make sure that our people have all the relevant information and the best basis on which to build their knowledge and their own skills. So the types of team leader development that we have at EY and the things that we ask our people, we encourage and coach our people. And this is not formally in a classroom, but we also have coffees and lunch to try and have a more informal dialogue with our people as well, just to try and help make things more conducive to learning, and also allow our leaders a chance to tell some of their stories, because I think learning comes from not only direction, but learning also comes from stories about the past and things that people did or didn't. And if there's more time allowed for those types of dialogue, that can be very, very effective. So the things that we encourage and coach at EY is how to inspire people and just how to create a positive reputation. As you can imagine, in a huge people organization like EY, when you first join, and if you're someone from outside, inside the organization, many times for junior people, no one knows who you are. So it's very difficult to be given the opportunity to inspire people. But what we ask people to do is contribute in teams, talk up, and as I said before, play their role in the teams. We ask our team captains and our managers to agree clear expectations and goals and provide clear leadership and direction. We have, as you may imagine, a very comprehensive system and how we communicate with people about the formal part of what we need from people. As you may imagine, again, that an organisation like EY has a very comprehensive KPI type system, But it's more than just setting KPIs, because many of you already know that KPIs by themselves don't work by themselves. And it's important to continue the dialogue. So we ask our team leaders to talk with people around KPIs, but also we're careful to consider the other things that people do outside of KPIs when we do the assessments half yearly and at the end of the year. To be flexible is something we also ask our team leaders to do. One of the things that in a fast-moving environment that we have, we're all moving in an interesting time these days, there's a huge amount of work stress and pressure. So one of the things that we encourage our team leaders to recognise is that people have another life too. And they also have other people at home waiting for them to get home. And if it doesn't work at home, it doesn't work in the office. So we're very careful, and we're starting to really focus on being more flexible and having more defined initiatives to allow flexibility in the workplace. And we're asking our team leaders again to sponsor and promote those initiatives and behaviour. Help to resolve conflict. Again, in big organisations, many different personalities, many interesting personalities. One of the things that I think we cannot expect that everybody is going to love everybody, that's for sure. But the requirement should be, or the reasonable expectation rather than requirement, should be that everybody can respect everybody. Everybody can respect everybody else's point of view, and on the basis of that trust and respect, people can work together effectively. Empower and control, I covered that already. Delegation, again, key part of delegation and empowerment, as I mentioned before, is something we talk about a lot at EY. Communicate regularly with all team members and provide timely feedback. We have formalised processes involving our team leaders within EY, but we also have many informal iterations on the way through the year. So that's something that's very firmly on our agenda. Okay, and then just a couple more words on the focus on team leaders' development and building up to trust. So development and coaching of team leaders. Obviously, we have a constant agenda around development and coaching. Show a willingness to tolerate mistakes and encourage people to learn from them. There are many anecdotes about mistakes, but we're all human and we all make mistakes. And what we ask people to do is to understand why things happened, not to penalise people for the mistakes they make. It's a part of the learning experience, but to try and figure out how we don't do that mistake again and move forward. So create an open and inclusive team culture. I've talked about that, but we even more formal initiatives like how we plan our office and how open our open spaces are, whether we have breakout space for people to talk more informally in our office. Those types of things also help us in that regard. Listening to people. I think in many organisations we are very good at telling people, and it's very hard to listen sometimes, particularly when there's a lot of pressure on. And we ask our team leaders to please take the time to listen. And in listening, I think from my experience, what I find is people will tell you things that you didn't know. And if you don't know about something, as a manager and a leader, you can't do anything about it. So further to that, I also find that roughly 1/3 of things that people tell me, I can fix immediately. 1/3 of things that people tell me or a team leader, they can do something about or address if it needs to be addressed within a reasonable time. And the last third of things, nobody can do anything about. But the culture of listening is very, very much a foundation of trust. And it's also something that some people, I think, lose when we start to talk about communication. Because communication is talking, but communication is listening as well. And I think that's absolutely critical for effective team leader. Help team members balance professional and personal commitments. Work-life balance is a difficult thing, but as I mentioned before at EY, we're trying to be more flexible with some programs about working from home and some other programs that we're rolling out now. And lastly, a good sense of humour. Now, that's not to say at EY we have coaching on jokes and anecdotes, but of course, a good sense of humour does help for effective team leaders. And lastly, to demonstrate trust. So, let's think about what does trust mean. Okay, so when I was thinking about preparing to speak to you today, one of the things that I was looking for was, who's a good example of someone who was on a leading role of a huge successful company that was very successful for a long time. And one thing that I did notice also is that GE perhaps has not been as successful after Jack Welch retired. But there's some, I'll just read this. What is trust? I could give you a dictionary definition, but you know it when you feel it. Trust happens when leaders are transparent, candid, and keep their word. It's that simple. So there's no surprises there. But for me, when I think about it a little bit further, trust has to be earned. When you first meet someone, you form your impressions, but it's hard for you to trust someone you've just met. So it's something that's learned and earned. And what I find, or the analog that I use, is trust is also something that can be lost very easily, particularly in big people organizations. So the analog that I use, it's like walking with a candle across an open space, like out that door there, and not letting the flame blow out. Like sometimes you have to go slow, sometimes you have to stop, it'll nearly go out, then it lights again. So it's constantly alive, but it can be won and lost very, very easily. And I think it is also embodied in the comments from Jack Welch. Trust is the cornerstone of engagement. It's an economic driver, and I'll come back to that in a second. It's learnable, as I mentioned. It's about confidence, both in character and competence, that you are a trustworthy person and that you know what you're doing. And it's about smart trust. It's not about blind trust. It's about earning trust based on very competent, good leaders and how that is pushed down into the team. So when I was thinking about this slide, I was just thinking about words that come to my mind and how do you get to profitable. And the ones that came to me were follow, coordinated, proven, together, efficient, effective, successful, and then profitable. Obviously, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out that if people are working together well, they ultimately, for their organization, they're going to generate more profit. If there is a lot of dysfunction in a team, then obviously they're not going to be efficient and they won't be profitable. But just thinking about the points on the slides and that words that come to mind. One of the key missions that we talk to our leaders, our team leaders and our partners about is walking the talk and leading by example. And clearly, as I mentioned at the start, we have our value statement, and then we have the cascading from our purpose through to our vision, then goals and initiatives. If you've got our key business leaders who are not walking the talk, then it's very, very hard to build a trusting culture. So at EY, we spend a lot of time with our partners and our business leaders talking about the fact that they need to be honest and transparent and sincere to the mission. And they also need to spend a lot of time building trust within teams. But the main thing is about leading by example and walking the talk. Conversely, if you don't do that, then there is a breakdown, obviously, and there is distrust, dysfunction, and destruction, ultimately. So trusting cultures at EY, some of the things that we've done. Flexible work arrangements, we allow people to work at home. Now, can you imagine, in our business, a lot of what comes out of a long work day is some report or memo. So, there's a lot of flexibility in how people spend their time, but we trust people, and we embody that trust through allowing them to work home and work flexible hours. We also entrust our people with the career development of our more junior people. So we cascade the counselling culture down through to relatively junior people, and we give them somebody to look after. So we're trusting them with our future generation. We regularly run surveys amongst our people. Now, surveys are nothing new. I'm sure everybody in the room runs lots of surveys. But we also share the results very openly with our people, and then we discuss together what we're going to do about the results of the survey. And lastly, we discuss very openly what our Vision 2020 means about for our firm, what it means for the partners and what it means for our staff. And we do this, we facilitate these sessions through what we call Big Picture, where we get a group of people in the room, and the people include the partners, so the very highest level, and I've sat in these meetings myself, all the way down to an intern who's been working with EY for 2 weeks. And we talk about very openly what our vision means to us, and what the contribution is expected from each person there. And again, that helps facilitate trust across our whole system. What's the result of all these things? I mean, I've talked a lot about various things we do. So we're very proud, and I'm very proud to be part of a global organisation that globally has the second best global employer brand as per Universum last year. I'm very proud about that. We had nearly 7% revenue growth across the global firm of EY last year. Very proud about that. Our people are proud too. 74% of our employees are proud of EY and satisfied about working with EY. 89% have valuable experiences from EY that help them grow and develop. And 76% receive on-the-job coaching. And on-the-job coaching is, in my view at least, one of the most effective ways of coaching people. 80% of employees are encouraged to come up with new and better ways of doing things. 17% increase have a good understanding about how their job contributes to Vision 2020, and we've had a reduced turnover rate within EY. And I see that trust is embodied in all of these things, and trust is also embodied in the people that work with EY, and many people use the stepping stone in their career with EY to go on to other places. So I'd like to show a very short video now, just about people of EY and a little bit about trust. Thank you. My closing question to you is whether your organisations spend enough time. Do you pay enough attention to your team leaders and managers and invest enough to support their trust? Спасибо большое.